So I've actually had some success here. This air intake has a little latch that goes over, and I seated inside the air intake plastic into the metal frame here, so that's all good. Back here is good. So the next step is to show how the light goes in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically take all of the lights that are dangling here, and I'm going to feed them up through the top here and keep them out of the way, and I'm going to mount this light inside the grill area. Okay, what I've done is I've installed the nose of the grill area. So you could see the nose starts from the fender side here. There's kind of mounting points that attaches that to this quarter panel. The real tricky part about this is underneath the latch for the hood are two of these bolts. And what you have to do is you kind of have to slide the top of the nose. There's actually a little plate underneath, so you press down on the latch. That opens up the space and you slide it right in. So now I've got it anchored on one side, and I did the same on the other. So that's in there, and then what you could see here is with the light, you have an attachment point on the nose cone, on the inside of the on the frame, and then the three. So there's a total of 5 attachment points for the light. Looks like a lot of stuff hanging out, but what I did was I freed up the wires, so the wires are all out of the way on the top. My feeder for the air is properly attached to the air filter, and so now what I'm going to do is put the light in. Okay, so now we've got the light in. I'm going to tell you a couple of things that you're going to want to keep in mind. Number one, there are 8mm sockets to fit the screws that screw the light into the frame. Number two is you always want to have an extension that looks like that. Yeah, that's my socket extender. Because what you're going to need to do is go all the way down to the one that's down right here. You're not going to be able to get in there very easily, so I use this extender and it goes right in. And there's another one, another screw that goes, that's basically right down there. So these little socket extenders are good, and you're going to want to get one. So now the light's on, you can see, and the nose is on. So we're just going to frame everything up, and the objective here is just to frame the car up right now with all of the parts so that it's properly installed. That is, the parts installed, so that when I disassemble it and have everything painted, I know everything's going to go back on the way it should, and rather than get into banging up the fender or other parts that are freshly painted, I want to know they'll go on nice and easy. So that's where we're at right now. I'm going to go ahead and install the other light, and I'll tell you how to get the bumper on and off if you're interested in watching this further. I know while you're watching, so this is stuff that you can do on your car, and I'll teach you, but I won't touch your car. Anyway, there you go. Oh, one other thing I'll highlight. When you handle these little pieces of fender and other materials, you got to watch out, because what happens is on your hand, you will slice them. It's not bad, it just looks ugly, but it's like a little paper cut that I received right there. And that little paper cut, it's a pain in the neck. It's bleeding, so I'm going to have to wash it out really good. But anyway, that's something you got to be careful of. Those little flange areas on those fenders on the steel are very, very sharp, so be careful. Anyway, that's it, and I'll show you how to put the bumper on next, and then I'll show everything closed up, and I'll also tell you about my hood that I needed to have taken care of, so I'll explain that in a bit. Okay, so here's the left fender. The left fender looks like that on the inside, so this is a very easy piece to put on. There's two bolts underneath the frame that hold the bottom part on. There's a bolt right here that's about two bolts actually that you get to. Let's take a step back here. You get to those using an extended wrench by opening up the door and going inside, and then the fender attaches on top of the frame. Put this like this. So basically the fender attaches using these special screws that run on the inside here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, and you can see on the fender here there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. One thing I did do is, you could see here, see if I can get that focused better. You got to be very careful. These are like these special hex nuts, and if you get in there and you strip them, you're basically not going to get them out unless you drill them out. So I had to do one of those. So this one is a new one that I got from BMW. That's the place you can only find them at, and it's a whopping, I think it was $1.75. Amazing. Anyway, I had to drill the old one out and put this one in, so that's a replacement one. So all of that assembles. So this is the old fender side of the car, and that's the new fender that's on there already. So one thing you will want to do is on the fenders that you take off, they have these little attachment thingies here. Can't see it with the sun here. So they're little clips. So I will be removing those and then putting them on the replacement fender. Okay? There you go. Okay. Here's where we're at. We got the lights on, but there's one problem I'm going to explain to you in just a second. On this side, you can see there's a very, very nice smooth fit of the right turn signal into the fender. And the light installment, this side is very nice. However, on this side, this is the side that sustained the damage. And if you recall in past videos, this bar was somewhat bent, so you could see a little kink here. So the problem that I have right now that I'm going to try and solve is this little space here. You can see that the light doesn't fit quite nicely and snug. In fact, the guide that goes into the fender is off by about 1/4 of an inch outward. I did attach the nose piece to the fender underside, so you see there's not a nice contour view there. And if I step back, you can see that the light is a little out. So I loosened up all of these hex nuts here, and I'm going to finagle this thing a bit, but that's the challenge I have. So it's either a little molding metal, or I'll talk to my good friends who know about cars and see what they say, and try to get this thing nice and seated in there. So that'll be the next challenge. So I'll let you know how that works out. And Andy, if you're looking at this, I'll be interested in your advice on how I might get that squared in there. Okay, last thing I'm going to do here is put the bumper on, so I'll explain how that works. So one moment. Okay, now I'm going to explain how to install the bumper on a 1994 BMW 325. It's very easy. There are 4 bolts that hold the bumper on. So the collision posts are located right underneath here. This is the post, and there's a guide right here that the bumper slides into. These are my wires. I'll move these out of the way. So the way this bumper works is you essentially fit the bumper onto the 4 bolt posts, sliding into the guides on the left and the right hand side, and as you slide in, you'll find the bumper will sit nicely guided in, and then you just bolt it in with those 4 bolts. It's very easy. And you can take the bumper on and off as you fit. In fact, it's kind of easy when you take the bumper off, and if you want to do any work on the tow rods or anything underneath, it's a very simple thing to do. So I'll go ahead and put it on now, and you can see what the result is.